this under painting have nothing to do with the photographs? No. It's just sketching right out basically.
Right over it. Right over it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quiet in here, makes me nervous.
We all left. Yeah.
We're all wondering what you're painting.
It's really hard to see against that background.
Yes, and that's what I want you to pay attention to, okay? This painting, the drawing, everything should sort of emerge, all right? As opposed to what you're doing, which is forcing one thing out of context over the other, all right? The drawing of this, the painting of this, everything should evolve together, all right? You should start seeing big, broad areas, and then those areas will start becoming more refined, and the drawing will become refined as I go.
So isn't it confusing to you though to deal with that background? And does that not bother you at all?
Not in the least. I'm not even sure exactly what I'm thinking at the moment when I'm looking at this, but I'm seeing through this. Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. That's all I can see. Sorry, I'm showing you your ear. That's fine. What is the purpose of this particular demonstration? You didn't say. Were you here last Monday? That was the palette knife.
That was the what?
The palette knife.
Yeah, no, I wasn't here.
It wasn't even. It was just. You had it on. Did you put that white on, or was it there before? It was.
What's that?
I was
She's
wondering
talking about the white on
if
the
you had.
canvas.
This?
I wasn't watching,
Oh, yeah, that
and
was on
suddenly
there
that
before.
white popped out, and I thought, oh, what's that?
You can also see I'm not overly concerned at this stage of the game with the palette a whole lot. Okay, I know, and again, eventually you guys will all get this too. I know eventually I'll start controlling this more. Right now, I'm about as concerned with this as I am about the background, which is not at all. Okay, I'm using whatever happens to be on that palette. So I'm not even at this stage of the game. I'm not really being too much of a slave to the color either.
focusing on blocking in major shapes and tonal values right now?
I don't even think about tonal values. I'm trying to take over the surface.
Just
I'm trying
like
to,
that other painting color.
I'm trying to regain control. I'm also looking at I can see into, I know what my brush strokes mean to me, so I can sort of see the figure and I know where he's gonna be, so I'm also composing a little bit. And if I were out on location, this is the speed I'd be painting. I always tell you guys it's not a race, which it isn't, but sometimes the circumstances will warrant a gutsier approach.
Ron, what would change if you didn't have a photograph of this person? You were just painting from, plain air, you're just seeing him. Would you do anything differently than what you're
I'd
doing
be painting
right now?
exactly the way.
Okay.
You notice I'm not spending a whole lot of time looking at
Yeah.
these two clothes.
Yep, I see that.
All right, I'm just glancing at it and painting what's catching my eye, as opposed to focusing on anything. I mean, I've got three, I can see his face. Yeah, I can see a background I happen to like better. I can see a pose I like better, so I'm going to put all these sort of together. But that's sort of the way it would happen out on location anyway.
Okay.
I'd be looking at it and moving around.
Uh-huh.
He's certainly not going to sit there
Right,
in those clam
right,
flats while
right,
I'm,
right.
unless I brought an example of a slightly different approach. Okay, here's a more conservative picture. I was out in the clam flats, found what I liked. Okay, did my drawing, then had him pose. Again, a sketch, but more controlled, more of a slave to my drawing. Flatness because of it, but this is a sketch, and this approach was going to be taken care of in my final painting. Right here, I was more concerned about how do those shapes look, what's the anatomy really going to be like, what's the pose really going to be like, and whereas something like this is going to sort of evolve. So there's a bit of a discrepancy between the two approaches.